Big offseason splashes have been proving to be franchise-changing or just a horrible decision. And there's definitely been a lot more just self-awareness in signing a huge piece to the puzzle. Well, at the time they think it's a huge piece to the puzzle, because in recent times, more and more we're seeing these massive signings being done in the offseason, and then we see instant regression that just makes certain GMs just look horrendous. The 2019 NHL offseason saw some of the biggest trades, some of the biggest transactions we've seen in NHL history. So in today's video, let's take a look at some of the bigger transactions and declare some winners and some losers. And in preface to this video, of course, some of the players I do list still have the ability to rebound. There's still a lot of time within their contract or just a lot of time in this season to turn it around. So let's start with probably the most controversial trade that occurred during the 2019 NHL draft, and that is PK Subban traded to the New Jersey Devils. Now, PK Subban is an offensive-minded defenseman, and this season he has a career low 5 points in 29 games. Which is just horrendous when you compare it to PK Subban's, normal standards. And the issue is 5 points in 29 games is not great for a defenseman, of course, but it would be okay if PK Subban was playing, that sound, complete defensive game. However, he doesn't play that complete defensive game. He has really bad defensive lapses, and especially when you're not producing and then also you're not hitting. PK Subban, I just saw a video about, the hockey guy kind of breaking down PK Subban's game. And PK Subban not only isn't scoring, he's not playing that great defensively, but he's not hitting. So it's definitely just not a great situation, and at least the Devils, I will say, did not give up a lot for PK Subban. At the time, everyone's like, yeah, Devils, you guys are turning stuff around here. However, it's not really the case so far this season, but I will say, again, PK Subban does still have the ability to turn this around because it's not just him not succeeding, it's the whole New Jersey Devils team. Next, we have Artemi Panarin, the bread man, the biggest offseason signing, $11.6 million contract, just a huge contract, the biggest signing we've seen in history now. 36 points in 29 games, which is definitely just fantastic, as he leads this young Rangers offense into the future. I still feel like 11.6 million was a lot, even at the time, but if he does continue to be the best player on his respected team, whether that's the Rangers or the Columbus Blue Jackets, he definitely still does deserve those big payday, especially when you consider it with some other contracts on this list. Kevin Hayes. Hayes was of course obtained by the Flyers for a 5th round pick so they could have early access for the rights to sign him in their offseason. And definitely a very interesting play, and later on we would just see how interested the Flyers were truly in Hayes. 7.15 million for 7 years, 50 million over 7 years, so the Flyers just clearly had a big interest in Kevin Hayes. Now, he has started to step up his game with 15 points in 30 games, but there's just no way I ever saw, even at the time, that Hayes was really going to live up to that big contract. There's just no way. Hayes is a solid player, don't get me wrong here, but 7.15 for 7 years is a massive dollar amount to pay for Kevin Hayes. And I even saw some interviews where it seemed like Kevin Hayes himself was shocked by the number he was proposed from the Flyers. He's probably like 7.15 for 2 years, like 3.66 whatever for 2 years. I'm in. Oh, 7.15 a year for 7 years? Okay, let's go. Justin Falk. The Blues acquired Falk in a pretty big trade, decent trade, sending Dominic Bach, a former 1st round pick, and Joel Edmondson. Edmondson is actually outperforming Falk so far this season with only 9 points in 30 games versus Falk's 7 points in 31 games. Now, I will say Falk will definitely turn it up, and the Blues are a great team, so his kind of decline in production here, I definitely will start to go up here. But as of right now, a 1st round pick in Bach and Edmondson, who's been playing really well, the Hurricanes are definitely winning this trade so far. Jacob Trouba. Now, Trouba was a part of a massive trade sending Neil Pionk and a 1st round pick, which actually turned out to be Ville Heinola, for the Jets for Jacob Trouba in an $84 million contract. Now, what I will say is Trouba has been performing well. He's definitely been living up to expectations. I'm not necessarily going to say for that $8 million mark, but he has been playing really well. He's definitely really helping the Rangers blue line, and he's already put up 17 points in 29 games. But even at the time, I remember people flaming myself, and Shannon, the THG, the hockey guy, saying that Trouba was a much better player than Neil Pionk. However, I didn't necessarily see it. And so far in this trade, I'm going to give the slight edge to Winnipeg. Because Winnipeg, they are saving $5 million per year. They're paying Pionk right now $3 million per year. and obviously Trouba's making 8. And Pionk is playing super well on a very bad Winnipeg Jets blue line with already 15 points in 30 games, again on just a horrendous blue line. And not only that, is they also received a first-round pick, which turned out to be Ville Heinola, and Heinola is really looking like a great blue chip prospect. We saw him play some games so far this season, and we saw him play games. He was just drafted last year, 20th overall. He was already playing NHL games, and he already looked great. So I do definitely expect some big things from Heinola. Sergei Bobrovsky, just a massive signing as a 31-year-old goaltender, I mean, which isn't too old for a goalie. $70 million over 7 years, $10 million per year. Just a crazy signing, especially in the current NHL day where teams are really relying on, I guess, rotating multiple good goalies. You know, we have teams like, I mean, the Anaheim Ducks, they're not the best team, or like the Arizona Coyotes, which is probably a better example, who are rotating 2 good goalies and they're getting much better, I guess, consistency. And that's definitely becoming more of a big thing. Especially in today's game when load management, I know some people really hate that term, is definitely becoming more of a big thing. So when you commit $10 million to a single goaltender, kind of like Carey Price in Montreal, that is a big commitment. And Bobrovsky really hasn't been Bob this season. 11 wins, 6 losses, which is not bad at all. You know, it's obviously a pretty good record. But an .893 save percentage, that is not good. That is not a good number, especially on a good defensive team like Florida, who has a good blue line and some good defensively responsible forwards. And a 3.24 goals against average, which again is just not some good totals here. However, Bobrovsky definitely still has the ability to turn it up. I think he's a fantastic goalie. He is one of those goalies that's able to kind of carry his team. Of course, he was just on Columbus and he was definitely a big... I mean, Columbus is a good team, don't get me wrong, but he definitely was a big part of their success. Matt Duchene signed for $8 million over 7 years by the Predators. 20 points in 27 games so far this season. Especially when you consider that Matt Duchene is not relied upon as much on the Predators as he had been on the Ottawa Senators and of course the Columbus Blue Jackets, who didn't have as much depth as the Predators. So definitely still a good signing in my opinion. Matt Duchene is definitely a great player. Tyler Myers, definitely a controversial one. 5 years, $6 million per year. There's a lot of people that were kind of on the line of whether they actually like this signing or not. This year he has 6 points in 30 games. Now, as a Canucks fan, I do think he has played well. His point production definitely has not been there, in my opinion. One of the biggest things I've noticed about Tyler Myers, and I don't know if it's because he's so tall and his stick is probably like 7 feet long, he's 6'8", he cannot hit the net. Myers cannot hit the net. He has so many great scoring opportunities like every game, and he can't hit the net for some reason. I don't get it. I think it actually has something to do with the fact that his stick is probably 7 feet long. However, and again, I will say Myers has been pretty good defensively. He's been good defensively. Some people like to point out some of his lapses, but overall, I think he is a great defenseman. However, $6 million is definitely steep. I think the Canucks would have been way better, or ideally better off at around the $5 million mark, but I would say, it's alright, but definitely not optimal. JT Miller, also a Canuck, a very controversial draft day trade on a draft that was actually held in Vancouver. I think lots of the fans were actually booing. Pretty interesting. Are they booing now? I hope not. Because this trade included a conditional first-round pick for JT Miller. Of course, the Vancouver Canucks have been a bad team for the past, 5-6 years. So when you trade a first-round pick for a player, you better hope he's good. Lots of fans were definitely, they weren't fully sold on JT Miller. However, JT Miller has definitely been proving a lot of fans wrong, and in fact, many analysts have actually said that JT Miller perhaps was the best acquisition from this entire summer. And I'm not going to say I definitely don't agree. 31 points in 30 games for Miller. He has been the Canucks' most consistent player all this year. He wins faceoffs, he checks, he's gritty, and he has been really good offensively again, and it's only making $5.25 million, which is a very dismal number when you compare it to some other contracts on here. If you're getting over a point per game from a complete centerman, or I guess he plays wing, but he takes straws, like JT Miller, that is definitely a fantastic pickup for the Vancouver Canucks. Again, especially when you compare it to some other contracts on here. And when you take into consideration his cap, his production, his complete defensive game, I do think he should be seriously considered to be one of the best acquisitions from this past offseason, if not the best. A more interesting signing, Brandon Tanev. So Tanev was signed for $3.5 million, which is definitely not a bad number for a guy like Tanev. However, he was signed for 6 years. Everyone was like, excuse me? 6 years? Okay, that's a bit weird. However, he has been great for Pittsburgh. 16 points in 30 games. He plays obviously that gritty, hard-nosed games, and his offensive side has been there. So good signing for Pitty. Joe Pavelski, kind of a shocker for the San Jose Sharks. The Stars signed Pavelski for 3 years, $21 million, which is definitely not a bad signing for Pavelski, who is, you know, a great scorer and a great leader. However, from a slow Dallas Stars start, he only had 13 points in 31 games so far this season. Definitely not a great look for a $7 million man. But again, the Stars have really turned things around here. They are back in the playoff mix, and I do really believe that Joe, wait, who's Joe? Well, he will definitely rebound. And last but not least, the hot dog man. Phil Kessel traded for Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph. So Phil Kessel once again gets taken out of the spotlight. The hot dog man lands in the desert. He hasn't really been lighting it up so far this season, but the man is just a natural goal scorer. It's so funny when you hear previous Phil Kessel teammates just talk about him, how he just doesn't seem like an NHL player just in general, and he's just a natural goal scorer, and he will amp it up. So far this season he has 18 points in 32 games, which isn't bad. Not up to Phil Kessel standards, but I do believe this will get better. Galchenyuk, on the other hand, has already been rumored to be on the shopping block, which is definitely very interesting. Galchenyuk so far this season has 10 points in 21 games and is coming off an injury. Pierre-Olivier Joseph, on the other hand, is a former first-round pick developing in the AHL at the moment. I do think Duchene will pick it up if he does continue to play some games here. The Pens did also save a lot of cap trading Kessel, but I think the real winner here is Phil Kessel, who's playing on the best golf courses in the world, eating many hot dogs, and making just a lot of money. But anyways guys, those are some of the biggest winners and losers from this 2019 NHL offseason. What do you guys think? Who is the biggest loser? Who is the biggest winner? I think it's Phil Kessel. No, actually, if I were to pick one winner, I would say it's kind of two in my opinion, which is Panarin. You know, he's a game-breaking talent, and JT Miller, who's obviously just played fantastic this year. But definitely let me know what you guys think down below. See you guys later.